This is my ranking of the best PS5 crafting games that I've played, based purely on my personal experience. Each one is placed from masterpiece to trash depending on how deep the crafting systems are and how fun the resource gathering feels. Let's get straight into the list. Grounded places, 4 shrunken kids inside a suburban backyard where insects become towering predators and common objects serve as shelters. Survival, crafting, base building, resource gathering, exploration, and technology upgrades drive the search for a way back home. Once I settled in, I started planning safer routes between resource spots. Crafting better tools slowly opened new areas, and every upgrade made survival easier without removing the challenge. Building my own base near useful materials saved plenty of time, while hunting insects for parts always felt rewarding. Combat stayed tense until I learned enemy patterns and upgraded my weapons and armor. Exploring every corner often uncovered fresh recipes or helpful supplies that kept me moving forward. The backyard constantly surprised me because familiar items looked completely different at this tiny scale. I always had another project to build or improve, which kept me coming back. I placed this in my excellent tier. Dragon Quest Builders 2 combines block-by-block construction with an action RPG adventure where rebuilding ruined towns helps restore hope across several islands. Gathering materials, crafting equipment, expanding settlements, farming, cooking, and battling monsters all work together as the story continues. As I spent more time rebuilding each town, I liked seeing villagers become more useful because they cooked, farmed, and even helped with construction. Crafting never felt like busy work since every new recipe improved my settlements or unlocked another useful tool. Combat stayed simple but enjoyable, and collecting resources always led to another building project worth finishing. I also appreciated returning to earlier locations to improve them with everything I had learned instead of leaving them behind forever. The steady progression kept introducing fresh mechanics without making things confusing, and I rarely ran out of reasons to keep creating something new. This secures a place in my excellent tier. No Man's Sky features a massive procedurally generated galaxy where gathering resources, crafting equipment, building bases, upgrading ships, trading, and traveling across countless planets shape the adventure. Different missions and survival systems allow every play session to unfold in different ways. After I understood the early mechanics, everything started flowing much better. I enjoyed collecting resources because every upgrade improved my suit, multi-tool, or starship and opened more possibilities. Building a base became a relaxing break between long space trips, and I liked deciding whether to continue the story or simply search for another interesting planet. The huge variety of locations kept surprising me, even when some planets felt quieter than others. Combat never became my favorite part, but crafting, exploration, and progression always gave me another reason to keep playing. Watching my equipment and bases grow over time made every hour worthwhile. This easily finds its place in my excellent tier. Core Keeper mixes mining, crafting, farming, base building, and boss battles inside a massive underground world filled with resources, hidden areas, and dangerous creatures. Character skills improve through repeated actions, allowing stronger equipment and better tools to unlock as progress continues. Once I learned the basics, I found it hard to stop digging because every tunnel seemed to lead somewhere useful. Gathering resources always felt rewarding since I could turn them into better gear, new machines, or upgrades for my base. Farming became just as important because keeping food ready made longer adventures much easier. I enjoyed discovering hidden biomes and preparing for each boss with stronger weapons instead of rushing into battles. Playing alone felt challenging in a good way, and every victory seemed well-deserved after all the preparation. There was always another resource to collect or another project waiting. This deserves a spot in my excellent tier. Fallout 4 blends open-world exploration, shooting, crafting, settlement building, and character progression across a devastated wasteland where searching abandoned locations uncovers valuable resources, weapons, armor, and supplies. Building communities, upgrading equipment, and choosing faction paths shape how the adventure unfolds. After I settled into its systems, I kept wandering away from the main story because every ruined building seemed to hide useful loot. Collecting junk never felt pointless since almost everything could become building materials or weapon upgrades. I spent plenty of time improving settlements, adding defenses and workstations before heading back into dangerous areas. The VAT system made battles much more enjoyable, especially during difficult fights against stronger enemies. Although some quests and conversations felt dated, the constant progression kept me moving forward. Finding stronger gear, unlocking new perks, and expanding my settlements always gave me another objective to chase. I ended up placing this in my great tier. Valheim builds its survival adventure around gathering resources, crafting stronger equipment, constructing settlements, farming, sailing, and conquering dangerous biomes guarded by powerful bosses. Every region introduces valuable materials, tougher enemies, and fresh recipes that steadily expand what can be created and explored. As I learned how everything connected, I became more careful with every trip, because preparation mattered just as much as combat. Collecting resources always had a purpose, since better weapons, armor, and buildings made the next biome much more manageable. I enjoyed creating a strong base that kept growing alongside my character instead of feeling finished too quickly. Sailing across the ocean to discover new lands made every expedition exciting, especially when I returned with rare materials. Boss battles pushed me to improve my gear instead of relying on luck, and every victory felt well deserved. I kept finding reasons to continue building and upgrading long after finishing earlier objectives. This belongs in my excellent tier. Green Hell recreates survival inside the Amazon rainforest, where crafting tools, building shelters, gathering food, treating injuries, and managing hunger, thirst, and illnesses are all necessary to stay alive. Every plant, animal, and material can serve a purpose while searching for answers behind the unfolding story. Once I understood how detailed its survival systems were, I started thinking carefully before every decision, because even small mistakes could become serious problems. Crafting useful equipment always felt rewarding, since almost every resource had another purpose waiting to be discovered. Building a safe shelter after a long day made every successful trip into the jungle feel worthwhile. I also enjoyed learning which plants healed me and which ones made things worse, adding another layer of strategy. The constant pressure from wildlife, the environment, and limited supplies kept every expedition tense without becoming repetitive. I settled this into my great tier. Minecraft offers an open sandbox where gathering resources, crafting tools, constructing shelters, farming, mining, and exploring countless biomes shape every adventure. Survival and creative modes encourage completely different playstyles, allowing every player to create personal goals while steadily unlocking stronger equipment and discoveries. As I spent more time exploring, I realized there was always another project waiting to be finished. Building my base slowly turned into something much bigger because every resource I collected unlocked fresh crafting possibilities. Mining for rare materials never became boring, since finding diamonds or ancient structures always felt rewarding. I also liked how I could ignore the main objective for hours and still make worthwhile progress through farming, building, or improving my equipment. Playing with friends made everything even better because every large build became a shared achievement instead of a solo task. No other crafting game has kept me creating for this long. This stands proudly in my masterpiece tier. Medieval Dynasty starts with a lone survivor, gradually creating a settlement through hunting, farming, crafting, resource management, and recruiting villagers who help transform a small camp into a lasting community. Seasonal changes, expanding buildings, and improving equipment steadily opened new opportunities across the valley. I liked how every new building made my village feel more alive because I could see it slowly grow from a few simple structures into a busy settlement. Gathering resources and crafting equipment always gave me another reason to head back into the wilderness. Managing food, money, and villagers kept me thinking ahead instead of rushing through objectives. I also enjoyed watching the seasons change, since they made the world feel fresh throughout my playthrough. The slow pace occasionally tested my patience, especially when traveling long distances, but seeing my village continue to expand made the time investment worthwhile. I place this in my good tier. Subnautica turns an alien ocean into a survival challenge, where diving deeper unlocks new resources, advanced technology, larger vehicles, and hidden mysteries beneath the surface. Every biome introduces unfamiliar creatures, valuable materials, and greater risks that constantly encourage careful preparation before each expedition. I loved how every dive rewarded my curiosity because I was always discovering something useful or completely unexpected. Crafting better equipment made exploring dangerous areas much more satisfying, especially once I could build vehicles that opened places I could not reach before. Managing oxygen, food, and water kept the survival mechanics engaging without becoming overwhelming. Building an underwater base gave me a safe place to organize supplies before heading back into the unknown. Even after many hours, I still wanted to uncover what was waiting in the deepest parts of the ocean. I placed this in my excellent tier. My time at Sandrock revolves around restoring a struggling workshop by collecting materials, operating crafting machines, completing commissions, building friendships, and steadily improving a lively desert town. Better tools, upgraded equipment, and expanding facilities constantly create new goals that keep daily tasks rewarding instead of repetitive. I enjoyed how the game always gave me another meaningful objective without making me feel rushed. Completing commissions steadily earned better rewards, letting me craft stronger machines that opened even more possibilities. Exploring nearby areas for materials and breaking down scrap always felt worthwhile because almost everything had a useful purpose. The townspeople slowly became one of my favorite parts, since getting to know them naturally introduced new activities and story moments. Watching my workshop grow from a small operation into something much larger kept me invested for dozens of hours. I placed this in my excellent tier. Terraria begins with a simple character in a randomly generated world, then gradually grows into a massive adventure filled with mining, crafting, base building, powerful equipment, hidden biomes, and challenging bosses. Every discovery unlocks stronger tools and fresh areas that constantly reward my curiosity. I loved how the game always encouraged me to dig a little deeper, because I never knew what valuable materials or rare treasures I would uncover next. Crafting better weapons and armor made every difficult fight feel worthwhile, especially once I started taking on the tougher bosses. Building my own base gave me plenty of freedom while exploring dangerous caves. Never stopped being exciting. Finding grappling hooks, rocket boots, and other upgrades completely changed how I explored the world. Even after dozens of hours, I still had new goals to chase and stronger enemies to defeat. This easily belongs in my masterpiece tier. Conan Exiles builds its survival experience around gathering resources, crafting equipment, constructing fortified settlements, recruiting thralls, and slowly expanding your influence across a dangerous open world. New materials, stronger buildings, and better gear constantly provide fresh objectives that make long-term progression rewarding. I enjoyed starting with almost nothing and gradually creating a fortress that actually felt like my own. Every upgrade made my base stronger, while unlocking better crafting stations and equipment always gave me another reason to keep exploring. The milestone system naturally introduced new mechanics without forcing me down a strict path, and I liked having the freedom to decide what to focus on next. Recruiting thralls added another layer to building my settlement, even if they felt a little limited at times. Combat occasionally felt rough, but the satisfying progression and rewarding building systems kept me invested throughout. I placed this in my good tier. Forever Skies combines survival, crafting, exploration, and base building by letting you pilot a customizable airship across the skies of a ruined Earth while searching abandoned structures, researching new technology, and gathering resources needed to survive. Once I settled into its systems, I really enjoyed watching my airship grow from a tiny shelter into a fully functional flying base that supported every part of my adventure. Exploring abandoned towers regularly rewarded me with useful blueprints and crafting materials, while trips to the toxic surface added more tension through dangerous creatures, limited oxygen, and infections that forced me to stay prepared. The progression could feel slow because of the constant resource gathering, but improving my ship and reaching new locations always gave me another reason to keep playing. I placed this in my good tier. Stardew Valley offers a relaxing life simulation where farming, fishing, mining, crafting, raising animals, building relationships, and restoring a small countryside community all contribute to your progress. Every season introduces fresh activities, valuable resources, and new goals that steadily expand both your farm and daily routine. I loved how the game always let me decide what I wanted to accomplish instead of forcing me down a specific path. Some days I focused on improving my farm, while other days I explored the mines, caught fish, or spent time getting to know the townspeople. Watching my land slowly transform into a thriving farm was incredibly satisfying, and building friendships made the town feel genuinely alive. Even after countless hours, I always found another reason to come back because there was still something meaningful left to achieve. This easily belongs in my masterpiece tier. Palworld mixes creature collecting, survival, base building, crafting, automation, and open-world exploration into a single adventure, where catching pals unlocks new technology, stronger equipment, and faster progression. Building efficient bases, assigning pals to different jobs, and exploring new regions constantly opened fresh opportunities throughout my playthrough. I really enjoyed how the game kept switching between exploring, fighting, crafting, and expanding my base because it never let one activity become repetitive. Catching stronger pals always felt rewarding since they could help in combat or automate important tasks back at my settlement. Even though the progression became grindy at times and a few bugs interrupted the experience, the huge variety of mechanics kept me invested for dozens of hours. I place this in my excellent tier. Planet Crafter transforms survival into a long-term terraforming project where gathering resources, constructing machines, researching upgrades, and exploring a barren planet gradually create a living world with forests, rivers, and breathable air. Every stage of terraforming unlocks better technology that speeds up progress and opens new possibilities across the landscape. I really enjoyed watching the empty planet slowly change because every new patch of greenery, flowing water, and environmental improvement felt like a direct reward for my efforts. Exploring crash ships for rare materials and blueprints kept me curious, while upgrading my equipment made each expedition smoother and more satisfying. Resource gathering could become repetitive later on, but seeing the planet evolve into a place full of life always motivated me to keep pushing forward. I place this in my excellent tier. Rust Console Edition places players on a hostile island where gathering resources, crafting tools, building secure bases, managing hunger and thirst, and surviving against aggressive wildlife and unpredictable online players all shape the path to long-term survival. Every server creates new opportunities through exploration, raiding, base defense, and constant competition for valuable resources. Once I learned its systems, I enjoyed how every trip outside my base carried real risk, because another player could appear without warning and completely change my plans. Expanding my shelter, collecting better equipment, and slowly improving my chances of survival always felt rewarding, even after losing everything during unexpected raids. The freedom to approach situations however I wanted kept every session different, although the clunky combat, rough controls, and steep learning curve occasionally became frustrating. Despite those flaws, I always found another reason to jump back into its unforgiving island. This landed in my good tier. Subnautica Below Zero follows scientist Robin Ayu as she investigates her sister's death on planet 4546b, while surviving through underwater exploration, resource gathering, crafting equipment, building bases, scanning alien life, and unlocking technology to reach increasingly dangerous regions. After settling into its progression, I really enjoyed how every expedition rewarded my curiosity with new blueprints, rare materials, or another clue that pushed the story forward. Diving into deeper waters always carried tension because I never knew what creature or discovery was waiting ahead. I also liked that the frozen surface changed the pace by adding another survival challenge instead of keeping everything underwater. Finding better equipment steadily made exploration more rewarding, even if navigating certain areas occasionally became confusing. It easily claimed a spot in my great tier. Astroneer turns an entire solar system into a sandbox, where procedurally generated planets, resource gathering, crafting, research, base construction, vehicle upgrades, and oxygen management work together as players unlock better technology and search for rarer materials across distant worlds. After I learned how each system supported the next, I really enjoyed expanding my outpost from a simple shelter into a busy base filled with useful machines and upgraded equipment. Building long chains of oxygen tethers encouraged me to push farther into unexplored areas because every expedition felt both safer and more rewarding. Unlocking new vehicles made collecting resources much faster, while discovering different planets kept the adventure visually fresh with their distinct environments. Power management and inventory organization became harder as my base grew larger, and I rarely felt motivated to remain on distant planets for extended periods. Even with those drawbacks, this easily found its place in my great tier. That wraps up my ranking of the PS5 crafting games I've played. If there's another crafting game you think deserves a spot on this list, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.